So I'm just going to read a few more poems and then we'll probably draw the evening to an end. So I'll start with a poem about escapees. Paper white Narcissi. I want to give you these little gods. I found them wild and stray in the backwoods. Their wily scent has brought my kitchen to a standstill. Though I've scoured, stacked, mopped and scrubbed, I still can't wipe away the guile of your mouth, punch drunk on mine, the way we sank into that long surrender. This wanting is too new an ache, too rash a fall. How I envy the cool indifference of these voiceless hostages, their heads tipped back, light trapped in their beaks. Where do they keep their sensual hearts? What blissful vertigo to quench the burn of your touch in their green reflective water, or spiral down each delicate carpel and hang on clusters of moist seeds, almost weightless. So sometimes I do what's called a persona poem. I try and be somebody or something and imagine what it's like. That's part of the fun you can have being a poet, or indeed a prose writer. But here I am going to be an Osprey. They are actually releasing Osprey along the south coast. They're doing very well up in Scotland, and I just used to watch the Zoom updates that the Woodland Trust used to give of the ospreys up in one of their forests in Scotland. So this is me imagining what an osprey feels like when it's about to fledge. This scoop, this mossy bowl, these jagged battlements, and by the grace, talons gripping reef knots of sticks. Inexplicable wings rehearse the untried lightness, as if by decree or secret knowledge. Diamonds shake on the ruff of her neck. She twists 180 degrees, beaks the shrill sky, calling in an astounding new language. To kill, to feed, to mate. Her eyes are embossed with a glint of fish. The great tiled arches flex, unflex, stretch heraldic, beat, repeat, repeat against the drop, then up into her inheritance. And this poem, the next one, is called Framed Woman. And it's based on, it's an ekphrastic poet that's inspired by Cape Cod Morning by Edward Hopper, the American wonderful artist. And it's also about somebody who maybe is going to come into her inheritance or freedom. Framed Woman. Somewhere in the kitchen, there will be mackerel or snapper, boned and gutted on a plate, their scales lying in predictable ranks. This is the odour of her life. She can't quite spoon herself out of his crab shell house. Its pragmatic clapboard so flat, so regular, each slat casting a thin blue shadow. Her breasts are haltered inside a home-sewn dress, her hands welded to a table. Panes of light frame those pale arms, soft as roe. She tries to shut out the pulse of Atlantic rollers, the taste of youth in her throat, but a memory is ripening under the cloche of his windows. A tendril unlaces in the white, hot sun. And while we're on the subject of fish, this is another persona poem. By that I mean a poem where I take on, you know, someone else's life and try and imagine it. There's a wonderful fishing museum in Brighton, which I recommend you to go and visit if you can. And I read up, I read some biographies, autobiographies indeed, of the fishing community that used to be very much active in Brighton. It's now a bit of a side show, really. Fisherman's Daughter. Dad was an artist with a needle. Whoosh, whoosh it would go like Sunday rain, and I'd lie in bed listening to him mending or making. Nets came straight from the beach, strung on a hook by our hearth, and he'd braid right there on a big old bedspread between Mum's dresser and the pull-out table, unhitching stories, until the room started rocking like a beamer, and I could smell the fish shoaling, feel their weight as they pulled against the trawl, bubbles breaking. You could say I made a good catch, but it was strange that first dawn, with Bill lying beside me, not a sound from downstairs, as if the house had stopped breathing. I still miss Dad's sure hands tightening the twine and his quiet ear for my life. He was never one to tie on a smile, but none of my worries were too small to fling back, and we'd sit for hours looping and twisting the rose. Dad called it cutting the holes out. Once the little uns arrived, I knew there'd be no hole big enough to wriggle through. Fish don't know how to go backwards. That's how it works. So that's The Fisherman's Daughter. I'm going to read three shortish poems now. One about my father, and this is a real poem about my real father, who had dementia, sadly, in the latter part of his life. It's called Remembering Chocolate. I meet the glaze in my father's eyes. Are you the new nurse? He hazards, one hand adrift behind the pillow. It seems easiest to nod, swallow my name under a starched smile. Cellophane rustles around the chocolate rabbit I've brought him. I place it carefully on the bed. Happy Easter, I say, wishing him dead. Is it, you know, yes, you know, that brown thing, you know, chocolate, I offer. He takes the word as a gift, tugs at the ribbon with his engineer's fingers, then plungers the bow. I watch his mouth smear with joy. That face tips me back into the plush velvet of the Adelphi. On stage, a tiny speck of light is dying, but I can't bring myself to lie. I turn to find my father, evangelical in his clapping. Yes, I believe in fairies. Don't let Tinkerbell die. Later, when I'm clearing out his locker, I'll find the Easter rabbit, its snapped off head meticulously twined onto fragments of body by a slender thread of crimson ribbon. That really did happen. Two very short poems. These are dream poems. These are poems I dreamt and then kind of, you know, neatened up a little bit to make them into poems. One is called Night Bus, and Cherry did ask for a bus poem, so here it is. And this one, I think, was after my mum died. In fact, I think they were both after my mum died. So Night Bus. You're wedged on the aisle side, all breathed up from the rush for a seat, blocked by a blether of faces. In a moment, you'll see me. A veiled woman holds her baby to the window. I float through this icon, attempting to catch your eye. The baby patter cakes my reflection, mouths something profound. As the bus throttles up, your face begins its fragile journey of turning towards me. And the second poem, that was a dream poem, is quite surreal. I mean, the brain is, quite a wacky place. But again, I think it's quite truthful about how it feels when you lose someone you love. Anniversary. To lose a loved one implies a lack of care, a mislaid item somewhere waiting. Inevitably, words let us down. Many times I've passed lost property, tempted to inquire. This morning I dropped by, gave them your description. About so high, slightly bent with age, wonderfully musical. They brought out a trombone. So where that came from, I don't know, but it is that strange sense of the irreplaceability of the lost one. So just 3 short poems left now, and then we will have come to the end. So this one is about the moon, but the moon features quite a bit in these poems, and it's also about childlessness. And it's called Lunar Paridolia. And Paridolia, for those who don't know, I didn't, but I love the word, is when 2 things resemble each other. Lunar Paridolia. I hold the moon up to the sun. Light bends, turns corners, throws illusions. I dust its face for prints. Some can see a rabbit, an old man, a goddess. I see the children we might have had. They don't hear me. Sound travels silently through this thin body of space. They play in a city of faces, not lost, not vanished. Every particle of dust is breathing. Games of hide and seek in long extinct volcanoes, a dream of astronauts and butterfly nets. As light bleaches the stars away, our children fall to earth as meteorites, rusted and stone dry. But nature, of course, is forever fertile and full of great joy. And just walking along the back way here on the downs, I came across a mirabelle plum tree that was obviously had just seeded itself in the middle of literally nowhere. Mirabelles. 3 have tumbled to the ground. On the cusp of flame, they glow as if the firebird, her feathers snarled in overhanging branches, flew down and nested in this flinty dirt. Their tree's seed arrived a cappella, carrying the ghost of tribal home, where monks grafted the first cultivar, and citizens of Metz and Nancy still fate them in pastry and spirit. Here on this downland cut through, they lie as if in final sleep, though life's hard stone is in them, its eye-tooth patient among chalk divots, horse dung, spiky bramble sweetness. Wind hugs the westward slope, sends a back-to-school shiver along the Lichway. Sunlight breaches, drops down, spins a web across their faces, makes their cheeks dance. The feral plum tree sings its wasted fruit among thickets of elder and thorn. No one passes by in this treasured land of unthumbed wealth. There's beauty in the squander. And my final poem, a really nice little one, inspired by, partly inspired by the daughter of a friend, but also inspired by me as a little girl, because I was very impatient gardener. My brother was brilliant. He has an allotment now. He absolutely is wonderful. I always wanted things to grow quicker than they actually can. So this is a little bit of poem about me as well. Gaia in the back garden. I find her crouched, knees by her ears, plump as a newt, jockeying the little patch of earth, flinging soil with her sky blue trowel. "They're not doing anything," she cries, her hand speckled with radish sprouts, their flopped pods and ripped filaments like mandrake children. A week is a month in her world. When I try to explain how life grows slowly and magically, like the new baby on his way, she tugs us both down. Seed packets clack on sticks behind us. We lie soil-warmed and innocent on the earth's teeming belly. "Shh," she whispers, and we listen. Thank you.